Could you say more about repetitions and the need to get a lot of repetitions in order to learn a new habit, and help us implement that clinically?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the key ideas that comes up from the habit change is you need to do two things. And one of them is obviously you need to have repeated, well, you need three things really. You need repeated performance of the alternative behavior that you want to replace. So instead of ruminating something incompatible to rumination that's helpful and doing that again and again and again, you also need to make sure that's contingent to the same stimulus cues. So it's not just that I practice, being active but I'm trying to, or problem solving, but I'm doing that to whatever may be the idiosyncratic triggers or cues that I'm about to ruminate.
I see.
Which could be mental, it could be certain thoughts happening, or it could be physical, it could be starting to feel tense, or alert, or thoughts starting to feel unfocused, or whatever it might be for an individual. They practice that, and then we need it to be reinforcing. So we need to change the habit. So the new behavior has some functional benefit. Either it's functionally replacing the original rumination, so it's getting some of the same payoff, or it's in itself helpful to someone, making them feel better. Because it's that cue, routine, and reinforcement are the key things to build a new habit.
So to build a new habit, we have to pay attention to training the new habit. Say you were going to do active problem solving, or you were going to do focus on your breath, or you were going to do listen to music, which is one of my patients does this while she's jogging. So instead of ruminating, now she listens to music. So you're saying one of the things that's important, which I had not quite fully grasped, was it's important to train the new habit in the same stimulus situation is the one that prompts the rumination, because we're trying to train it up so that the stimulus situation now prompts the new habit, not the old rumination.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, in that sense, it's counter conditioning a new response to the original stimuli with the view that then that becomes the habit. So that after a while, when they're in that situation, that difficulty comes up again, or that stimulus, or so they start feeling stress or whatever it is, the alternative response is more likely to happen automatically than the rumination. So that there's a new habit there.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if the trigger, which is quite common, is physiological arousal, early signs of anxiety are often quite good triggers. So heart rate going up, feeling tense, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we might do something in the session to induce that feeling. For example, recalling a previously stressful situation. And when someone has that feeling, we would then practice doing the alternative thing other than ruminating, which could be working through a structured form of problem solving. It could be trying to switch the focus of attention outwards onto something more constructive.
Mm-hmm.
It could be relaxation. It could be a range of things, which we would probably choose so it's something that's already in the person's repertoire, so we know they can do it, and that we can see is probably going to be more reinforcing for that person, so they're going to get some sense of control from doing it. And then we practice it in the session, and typically we would record it on audio, so that we can give that audio to the person and say, hey, practice this, listen, schedule that to practice. So we're going to schedule the practice of making the link between the stimuli and the response. But we'd also make what we would call an if-then plan, which is similar to the trap-track idea in behavioral activation, whereby you explicitly make a plan where you say, if I notice this certain stimulus happening, I'm noticing I'm getting tense out in the world, then I will do this, and here's the plan I'm going to do. And that would be another form of homework. We're effectively trying to get people to do scheduled practice to make the link, but also practice as it emerges in the day-to-day world as a way of trying to strengthen the sort of ecological validity and generalizability of the learning. And if you get people doing that for a couple of weeks, if they're quite a common ruminator, they are probably going to have multiple examples of that coming up a day. So over a few weeks, you can potentially get quite a lot of practice in if someone's being positive about trying to do it.
So let me ask you this, because I'm not quite clear. So when the person is practicing, they're not just practicing the new behavior like the relaxation strategy or the focus on the present and the environment and do something productive. They're practicing actually experience the cue and then practice.
Yeah.
So then,
whether that's us deliberately making the link in a kind of behavioral activation way, where we kind of give them a mood challenge and then do the practice like we would in the session, and then they go off and repeat that from audio, or whether it's making that link in their day-to-day responses. So we explicitly make a plan. If I notice,
yes,
then I do this.
Then I'll do it. So that's the taking use of spontaneous cue presentation to practice the new skill and then link so they get linked up together. In addition to doing that, we might have the person do exactly what you just did in the session, which is we're going to explicitly elicit the cue. We're going to present the cue. We're going to tighten up or think about something from the past that's going to make us tighten up and feel anxious.
Yeah.
That's the cue. We're going to explicitly elicit that, and then we're going to practice the new skills so they get linked together. That's what happens in the explicit practice. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's very much taking on board this idea that we're not just trying to train a new response, we're trying to train a response to a particular context.
Right.
And we need to very explicitly do that.